we are looking at like pretty much James Harden's last chance to win a championship. I don't want to say like he will never win a championship if he doesn't win in LA, but it's getting to a point where he has been on some incredibly talented teams. Sometimes he's been the best player, sometimes he's been, the second guy, and now he's kind of just a guy that's there. They don't really have a hierarchy. All of them are playing like a team game. The stats aren't going to reflect that any of them are actually in the peak of their career. So when you look back, it might be some weird, like, washed group of players, but I don't think that's the case. And just because they underperform in the playoffs, I don't think you can ever look at them like they're washed. James Harden is still a top 20 player. Kawhi is a top 20 player. Paul George is a top 20 player. Russell Westbrook is definitely not anymore, but even in the playoffs last year, he still has that flair in him. You can still depend on him more than most people think you can. I just don't know what to expect for them because a bunch of old injury prone stars together is not a great recipe for a championship. So that's already the big concern. Plus the defense, it really shouldn't be a concern because you have Kawhi and Paul George and Russell Westbrook. And James Harden can share the offensive load to take off from those guys, but it doesn't really feel like those guys are elite defenders anymore. Kawhi is still an elite defender, but they're getting older and you have to manage the injuries, and the West is so hard to compete in. I just don't know what to expect out of them because I don't want to rag on any team in the NBA, and I don't want to set up any team. I don't want to say, all right, these people are going to be amazing and they fall short of this expectation. And I think other than, the team that just won the championship, there really isn't any team besides the Nuggets that should have expectations. Maybe the Celtics too. The Bucks possibly. I don't know. There's some teams that have some championship expectations, but if you put championship or bust on 10 teams in the NBA, that means 9 teams at the end of the year are either blowing it up or retooling in some way. And I just think that amount of player movement is just, it's not stable. Like, you're basically giving a team 1 to 2 years to develop chemistry with one another, and you're hoping that the coach is the right coach. Ty Lue is really challenged here to try and get this to work, and I don't know if he can. He's a weird coach because he's one of those coaches that'll say all the right things and you hear the right things, but you watch the product and you're like, do they believe the things that they're saying, or are they just saying the right things? Like, all right, we're gonna share the ball, there's only one ball, I'm gonna let you guys figure it out, I'm a player's coach, but also I'm a defensive guy, and like, you guys got to lock in and everyone's got to, it's just weird. It's a weird position to be in as a coach when you have this much talent, but also, they're all proven talent, but Kawhi's the only proven winner. And, Kawhi's not exactly a super vocal guy, if anyone noticed. So you're, already in this weird position. But I'll say this, you got Harden for pretty much nothing. Like, you did not have to give up anything other than like maybe Kenyon Martin Jr. They might miss him, but like, realistically, you didn't have to pay that much to get this guy. And again, he's on an expiring deal, but you know, he wanted to sign a deal with the Clippers over the offseason. He was going to opt out of his contract and go there. And I think that this one is distinctly different than all the other times that James Harden asked out because, with the Rockets, it was kind of like, all right, get me out of here. But he was weird about how he handled it. And then when in Brooklyn he asked out, it was weird how he handled it. And Brooklyn was so weird because it's like, why are you asking out? The Nets clearly fumbled that, like the front office and coaching, because they were too talented to not want to stay together. Clearly, you can have a talented basketball team. My worry is that talent is not enough to win in this league anymore. And no matter how much talent you have, it seriously takes a good coach, a good scheme, a good game plan, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to say, it takes a good strategy of how to use these players. They are not just going to figure it out themselves. And with the Clippers, that most of that falls on Ty Lue. And that's really what it boils down to. Ty Lue was, the coach of the team that came back 3-1, best finals comeback of all time. So I can't say that he was carried by LeBron and Kyrie if then I'm going to say that he can't be carried by Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Like, what are we doing here? It's just going to be interesting because, again, every team right now in this early season, when their team gets hot, thinks they're the shit and starts saying on Twitter, all right, we're the champions. Like, we're going to win the finals. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, I see Philly fans saying it. I see Clipper fans when they first got Harden, they said it was over for the league. Then they went on that huge losing streak. Now they're kind of figuring it out. They got to make sacrifices. And at the end of the day, just seeing Russell Westbrook make the sacrifice and want to go to the bench to, benefit the team, that's the type of stuff that you're going to need to see more and more to help the team figure out how to win games. But Russell Westbrook wanting to come off the bench versus being pissed off and not wanting to come off the bench in, a Lakers uniform, that speaks volumes. About his growth as a player, where he understands like what his role is, his pay cut that he took, everything that he is doing as a Clipper is putting that team in the right direction. And you have to show love to Russell Westbrook for trying. Like, he is not a blockade preventing this from working. And it's funny because he's the scapegoat from the other LA team when it was him and AD and LeBron and they couldn't figure it out. So for him to say, all right, I do want to come off the bench, I do want to make the sacrifice, that's the type of stuff that gets the other guys bought in. So that's a good sign. And again, they're too talented not to win a lot of regular season games. Like, if you thought they were going to be a lottery team with that much talent, like, you're stupid. I'm sorry, but there's no way that talented of an NBA team is going to lose more games than they win. They have to be an above 500 team. I don't see it unless there's a ton of injuries that happen. There's no way that they don't make the playoffs. But then it's, how do they match up with other teams? What style of play are they going to run? Are they going to move the ball? Because if they move the ball, they're going to be lethal because you have so many guys on the perimeter that are threats, both to drive and kick and shoot off the catch. That's awesome. And James Harden theoretically can run ISO ball offense if, he's out there with all the bench guys by himself, right? But it's about that smart play of, okay, I have other stars on the court with me. I've never really seen James Harden play within that system. I like that quote that he had about how he was the system. He plays like he's the system, or he plays like he's not in the system. I've never seen him work off the ball. I've never seen him do what Curry does. What Curry does is why Curry's a winner. He doesn't have the ball in his hands. He runs around the whole court in circles, comes off a billion screens, catches it, shoots it, makes it 45% of the time. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's broken. That is why the Warriors are successful, mainly because of him. Even with their aging talent, they're going to win games because Curry has committed to being part of the team and they're moving the ball. That's what the Clippers need to do to succeed. And it's really just a test of, are they going to be able to do it?